Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through the entire process of threading the Baby Lock Chorus sewing machine. If you have missed the first two videos in the Baby Lock Chorus series, then you can click the links in the description box below. There is a playlist. In the first video, I walked you through the entire machine, showing you all of the parts. And in the second video, I showed you all of the accessories that come with the machine. So today we're going to learn how to thread the machine, and I am here to tell you that there is good news because this machine comes with a self-threading feature. I'm talking about the needle. So no more wetting your thread or wetting your needle and trying to feed that thread through the eye of the needle. The machine does it all for you. Also, if you have ever been sewing and you ran out of bobbin thread and you had to remove the top loading thread to rethread or rewind the bobbin, no more of that with Chorus because it has a supplemental spool pin where you can thread or wind your bobbin and keep your machine threaded as is. Happy days. So we're going to get into it. If you have this machine already, go ahead and grab your quick reference guide. The steps that I'm going to be walking you through are all outlined here in the manual, so that if you ever forget, you can go to your manual or come back and watch my video. If you don't have the machine, then I have good news for you. You can get 10% off this machine or any machines and accessories in the Baby Lock lineup by using my code, and I'm going to put that on the screen here. I'm also leaving a link to my ambassador page in the description box below. When you click on that link, it will take you directly to the page. You will see the Chorus there along with other machines that I use and accessories, and make sure that when you make your purchase, you use that code at the checkout. Okay, let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with the upper threading. So we're going to take our thread, and you want to make sure that you're holding the thread spool to where the thread is falling to the back. So you see that? We want the thread falling to the back of the spool. Then we're going to push it onto the spool pin. Then you want to make sure that you're using a cap that is larger than the end of the thread of spool, or the spool of thread. So we want to make sure that it's larger. And the reason is that when you're sewing, this thread will be unwinding in this direction, rubbing against the spool cap. If you didn't have the spool cap, the thread would rub against the end of the spool, and there's a groove. And sometimes I think there's more than one groove, but I know there's at least one. And the thread is caught on that groove. And if that happens while you're sewing, your thread could snap. So take your spool cap and you're going to push it on. Now, if I push it all the way over to where the spool of thread is snug against the end here, the thread will still turn, but there's a little resistance. So you want to make sure that you don't make it so tight to where the thread isn't moving freely. Now the thread is unwinding freely. Next, we're going to draw our attention over to this metal clamp, or this metal part here. And we're going to feed the thread to the left side of this metal hook. And then we're going to follow the number sequence to continue threading. So I'm taking the thread and I'm feeding it over to the left side of the hook. Then we will feed the thread through the groove up to the top, over to the left. We're following the arrows and the numbers printed on the machine. Then we come over to the left and continue down into that groove. And we're continuing down on the right. And then number 3 tells us to loop over to the left. So we're making sure that we're going behind this white part. And then we're coming up on the left. And as I'm coming up, I'm keeping my thread over to the right side. And as I continue to come up to the very top, you will see there is a hook on the inside of this opening. So we want to turn the thread following the arrow for number 4. We want to turn the thread over to the left and start coming back down into that same opening, the same groove. And what's happening is the thread is catching onto the metal hook inside. So we will turn and continue feeding down. And as you come down, you'll reach number 5, where the arrow points down. And then here on the needle holder, you see the number 6. And there is a little metal hook right at the bottom. So we're going to take our thread and we're going to feed it behind that metal hook and pull the thread over to the left of the hook. At this point, we need to lower our presser foot before we continue. And that button is right here to the right. And the reason we're lowering the presser foot is to prevent the thread from continuing to pull through. So you can see I'm pulling on the thread and it's not moving. I mean, if you really tug hard enough, it will move, but it's nice and taut. So now we're going to feed our thread through this metal hook and then pass it in front of number 7. So feeding it through that one and pass over to number 7 and then push it to the back of the machine. Now we're going to go over to the left side of the machine. And here on the left side, we have our thread cutter. So we're going to take our thread and we're going to feed it through the back of the thread cutter and pull it toward the front. After we have that done, we're going to go over and press the needle threader button, and I'm going to zoom in on the needle so that you can see how the machine threads it. The needle is threaded. I'll show you again from this angle. And there it is. Okay, there are a couple of important things that I need to insert here before we continue threading the machine. First of all, the needle position is very important. If the position of the needle is off by even a little, the machine will not thread the needle and you could cause a problem. And I can tell you this is true because I have experienced it. So if you are using your hand wheel, like I'm doing right now, to move your needle to the highest position, that could cause a problem because it may not be the precise or the exact position that the needle needs to be in for the needle threader to push the thread through the eye of the needle. And it could cause a certain part, I don't remember what it's called, but there is a certain part that it could bend and it would prevent the threader from threading the needle. So what you should do instead of using your hand wheel is use the up-down needle position button. This is the button. So when you press this button, it will position your needle either up or down. So I'm going to press it now. And that pushes my needle down into the machine. I'm going to press it again. And it raises the needle to the position that it's supposed to be for threading your machine. So always use that button instead of your hand wheel when you're threading the Baby Lock chorus. Another important thing to consider is the size of the needle. The larger the needle, the easier it will be for the needle threader to push the thread through the eye of the needle. So I typically use sizes 10 and 12, 70-10 and 80-12. Those are the ones I use the most. And what I learned through trial and error is that the machine prefers the size 12 for the needle threader. It will thread the 70-10, but sometimes there is a miss. So when I had an issue with my needle threader not working, I took it into my local retailer, and he did inform me that I had bent whatever that little part was that's connected to the needle threader. I forget what it's called, but I had bent it for two reasons. I was using the hand wheel to position my needle, which was not accurate, and then using a smaller needle, which he said was a 7010, was part of my problem. Since then, I have used my needle threader on the machine for 7010, and it does work. However, every once in a while, it will miss. So just keep that in mind. The larger the opening on the eye of your needle, the easier it will be for your machine to thread, or for your threader to thread the needle. One more thing, I just remembered this one. It's very important to consider the size of your thread. The thinner the thread, the easier it will be for the needle threader to push the thread through the eye of the needle. So here I have Gutermann 100% polyester all-purpose thread. This is no problem. It threads beautifully with the machine. Also, Coates and Clark. This is 100% polyester all-purpose thread. Again, it threads beautifully with no problem. Here we have Gutermann top stitching thread. This is too thick. It's a lot thicker than the other two that I just showed you, and it will not, the needle threader will not push this through the eye of the needle. And then finally, the decorative thread. Here I have the Decora Madeira, and it's even thicker than the top stitching thread. So this will not go through the eye of the needle with the self threader on Baby Lock Chorus. So keep in mind the thread that you're using. If you need to use a thicker thread, then just use hand thread the needle. That's your best option, rather than taking a chance to ruin your needle threader. Okay, now we're ready to thread the bobbin. And what I love about Baby Lock Chorus is that it has a supplemental spool pin so that you don't have to remove the thread from this side where you've already threaded the machine. So we're going to take our thread, and again, with the thread falling to the back of the spool, we'll place it on the spool pin, place our cap, and again, making sure that your thread is moving or unwinding freely. Then we'll place our bobbin, and you want to make sure that you're using a class 15 bobbin for the Baby Lock Chorus. Whichever machine you're using, you want to make sure that you stick to the bobbins that they recommend in your owner's manual. So we'll take our bobbin and press it down onto the bobbin winder. And then we're going to finish threading. So we're going to take our thread and move it over to the left side. And here you will see a sequence of numbers printed on the machine for you to follow. So first, we're going to go over to the left to this hook here in the back. We're going to take our thread, and coming from the back, we're going to snap it to the front. Okay. And then we're going to follow the guideline or the printing where it's going to the front and toward the back. So we're going to feed the thread from the front around that disc to the back, and we're crossing over the top. And then we're going to go back over to the bobbin, and then we're going to wind the bobbin by hand for several turns. And you want to make sure that you're winding it kind of taut, not loosely. So I'm going to hold on to the left side of the thread and just wind this a few times. And then with the excess, we're going to go over to the left. There is a groove here on the bottom of the bobbin winder. We're going to take our thread and feed it through that groove and pull it over to the right, and it cuts the thread. Then we have this lever that we're going to push over to the left. And what this lever does is it gauges when the bobbin is full. So as the thread is winding, the lever moves over to the right, and when it's done, it snaps back. So we're ready to wind the bobbin. Now, once you have pressed the lever over to the left side onto the bobbin, this is the screen that will pop up at the bottom. So you see a picture of the bobbin, and then you have the minus sign and the plus sign. If you want to wind it slowly, then you'll press your minus sign to move it over. I like to keep mine at the fastest pace, so I keep it all the way over to the right. And then once you press start, then the bobbin winder will start turning. I'm going to press start. And our bobbin is all full. So then I'll remove it and then clip the thread. And now we have a full bobbin. If you are winding your bobbin from this spool pin rather than the supplemental pin, then you're going to start a little different. So we still have our thread winding from the bottom of the spool, but we're going to proceed as if we're threading the machine. So we're going to take our thread and pass it to the left of this metal hook toward the back, and then we're going to take the thread and feed it through this metal hook. Snap it in and pull the thread over to the left, and we're going to come around to the front of this metal disc and feed that through and wind it around, making sure that it snaps in place. And there you see the threads crisscrossing, and then you will proceed to winding your bobbin as in the first demonstration. So now let's go ahead and set the bobbin into the bobbin case. Okay, first we're going to lift the presser foot. And then we want to open the bobbin cover. So we have this lever to the right. We're going to push it over to the right, and that releases the bobbin cover. We'll remove that. And then we have our bobbin, and we want to make sure that the thread is on the left side, so it's unwinding from the left. And then we'll place the bobbin into the opening. And then you see there is an arrow here. We want to pull our thread in front of that arrow over to the left and continue following that groove all the way around. And then we're going to pull the thread over to the right, and that cuts the thread. We'll replace our bobbin cover, and we are ready to sew. Is that awesome or what? Oh my goodness, I love my Baby Lock chorus, and I want to show you a few garments that I have made with Baby Lock chorus alone. No serger, no cover stitch, no other machines, just the chorus. Let's take a look. Here's my new dress again. And you know what I'm going to say. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. This is so comfortable. It's Butterick 6758, and I sewed view B and extended the ruffle, the bottom tier, to a maxi length. And the comfort is just, it's everything I need. The fabric is very lightweight. This is a rayon crepe, very lightweight. I've had it for some years. I purchased it from Joann's years back. So I'm wearing a slip underneath. I'm wearing a knee length slip. So for coverage and modesty, ooh, I love it so much. Okay, another look at my new dress, because listen, this is Butterick 6758, and I sewed view B with the ruffle on the bottom, and I extended it to a maxi length. When I tell you this is a new level of I love it, oh my gosh, I love it so much. It's super comfortable. Oh my gosh, it's so buttery soft. And I love it. I love it so much. And the color is everything. It's everything. I love it. Oh my gosh. And I've styled it with my animal print Mary Jane's, and I'm comfortable. I'm planning to wear it to church this Sunday. Okay, so we have the button front closure. We have the two patch pockets with the flaps and buttons. We have the collar with the collar stand, and then the raglan sleeve. Here we have a single button closure on the cuff with the pleats there. And then we have this button here because there's a tab on the inside, so I can roll the sleeves up and fasten the tab. We have a slit on the side, and you can see there we have a curved hem. Here it is from the side. Let me take you around the back. It's the back view. I am loving the length, and I'm planning to style it with jeans. Oh, cannot wait. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this video. If so, make sure you hit the like button down below and leave a comment with your questions. I will come back to answer your questions. Also, if you're interested in purchasing Baby Lock Chorus or any other machines from Baby Lock, then make sure you use my code that's on the screen right now. And there is a link in the description box that will take you to my ambassador page where you will see the Chorus and other machines and accessories. Stay tuned. I will come back with another video in the Baby Lock Chorus series. See you next time. Bye.